that cost-benefit analysis of very important public decisions. And recycling is sort of a simple thing. But it's everything from how we generate electricity, the price we pay at the pump for gasoline. So therefore, how might we have policies that allow people to not have to buy as much gasoline because they don't commute as far, or they have a fighting chance to use mass transit and not have to drive alone in their car all day, every day, like so many of us have to. So it's just, the opportunity is how do you figure out in a fair way to, that economists and analysts would agree to. How do you expand, how do you deepen that cost-benefit analysis to really take into account, the cost of, mostly the cost of local governments, but ultimately I would suggest the cost of the things that we consume. And so right now, I speak frequently on electricity generation. I mean, right now, technically, it costs less to generate electricity from burning pulverized coal that's shipped in from a strip mine in the Powder River Basin in Wyoming to Fayette County, Texas, right down to Highway 71. It's that kilowatt hour is cheaper than if this building had solar panels on it, and somehow had to have battery storage to have lights at night when the sun wasn't shining, or you had to figure out some other way of generating electricity. And I would suggest, though, that the analysis on coal, it only costs you 3 cents a kilowatt hour to generate electricity from burning pulverized coal that's shipped in from Wyoming. We don't take into account the nitric oxide and sulfuric oxide, the carbon dioxide that's emitted down in Fayette County. We won't take into account when we're pricing electricity for us as consumers at home every month, what happens when Austin gets declared a non-attainment city pursuant to the Clean Air Act. And so there are lots of other costly things that are overlaid on area businesses and transportation dollars, things like that. So it's just this constant challenge. Really, that's an opportunity, but it's the challenge to in a fair, accurate, transparent, believable way, expand, deepen that analysis, and so people see, what it really costs the community when you have a 25% spike in childhood asthma attacks at Dell Children's and Brackenridge Hospital likely, where people show up without insurance, and so they're delivered health care services at 8 times the cost than it would be if they went to a private physician. What is the cost of the community when 1,800 more kids one day get treated at BRAC for asthma attacks that didn't happen the day before because we didn't have a low level ozone wasn't as stagnant or as polluting as it was that day. That cost isn't at the gas plant, right? But virtually all of that, very people challenge that. The cause of that is mostly us driving around in our cars and burning gasoline. So it's just this ongoing dialogue, and it's messy at times. It's sometimes it's disingenuous, sometimes it's hurtful, in both directions. And somehow I keep thinking we're going to get through it and past it, beyond it, and have a real adult, sober discussion about the cost of government services, the cost of environmental protection, and stewardship, and healthy opportunities for our kids and generations beyond them. It's a challenge.
Thank you.
Question?
I actually have two questions. One is, sorry, I'm doing the extra credit report kind of right after my speech class. I was wondering if you could possibly send the PowerPoint to my
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to copy it right now, I'm not, I don't know how that works, but it's, yeah, if you just copy, you just have it.
Okay, awesome. And the second question was, I wanted to ask you, recently, Rolling Stone did an issue right before the midterm elections about kind of a case for Obama, and they did kind of an inside job with the Tea Party movement. I wanted to ask you personally, they kind of found out that a lot of those people involved in it, the politicians and the kind of everyday kind of just pro-patriotic people in there, still want Medicare and Social Security and a lot of government benefits, even though they're participating in a completely kind of anti-government block movement. So I wanted to ask you, how do we kind of keep things as a collective going forward kind of sane and kind of polite, in a polite atmosphere, and kind of correct people when they have their politics backwards and wrong with misinformed? Is kind of how we go about that, especially like the college generation that has a little bit more of a liberal mindset.
Well, I mean, I used to frequently say that the fact is that people don't want to pay for the services that they demand. And, I mean, we all are guilty at times of that. I mean, many of us talk out of both sides of our mouths when it comes to, griping about, your assessment on your home valuation, because that's going to lead to what the property tax bill is. At the same time, when a local government then, shuts down your branch library for 2 days a week, for 6 hours, 2 days a week, then, you're part of the voice protesting that particular fact. Maybe a silver lining of how bad the economic dynamics that are leading into a statewide budget crisis this next month is that I think maybe it forces that, that sober, mature debate of here's how much government revenue you have, and do you take it out of transportation? You can talk, you try to raise the gas tax, and you'll have a riot on your hands. You try to promote the toll roads, and you have maybe a bigger riot on your hands. If they find no gas tax, pay for it if you drive on it. You'll probably have a riot on your hands. But then if you try to shrink, the transportation budget, because you don't want to shrink the education budget, but then you see what that leaves is then your health and human services budget gets shrunk, and everything from leasing to other sort of quality of life issues likely will be funded less if you hold some of the sacred cows harvest. So maybe a silver lining this year at the state legislature will be the budget crisis apparently is so real. And all the low-hanging fruit was sort of picked last session, 2 sessions ago, and they got a bunch of federal dollars, I'm told, to balance the budget. This year they may not, and the budget gap is just as big, and so I think it's going to cause this, from an old Catholic, I'd say a come to Jesus, discussion about, okay, here the pie is this big, and here are the current slices of transportation.